everyone. Warm welcome to Phil's Corner Live. And of course, as we can see from Brock already in the chat, happy Independence Day for our American friends. Of course, if you're in the UK, it's German election day, so lots happening today. I just went to vote on my lunch break. I don't expect us to talk about politics, but that's a reminder to go and vote if you're in the UK. But yeah, welcome to the stream. It's been a little while. We had a short break with the Euros, and I've been busy with other bits. Oh, thanks, JPR. Appreciate that. Says cool bit of your new podcast recently, Phil. Thank you, JPR. Yeah, my friend Matt, who's done a lot of work in radio and that sort of stuff, wanted to do a podcast, so I've joined him, and he's great, really nice bloke. And yeah, I think the feedback's been good. The thinking is if we get a bit of traction, we might be able to do that more, but we're sort of just trialing it a bit, just putting some feelers out there, kind of thing. But really appreciate that, JPR. Thank you for your support there and watching or listening to the pod, I should say. If anyone wants a link to that, it's Kit or Miss Pod on Instagram. You can also check out the link I recently shared on my Twitter. Brock says as well, currently waiting for the biggest 4th of July parade in Utah to start. Football shows and parade. What a way to start the morning. Not bad indeed. And yeah, as Brock says, we are going to be talking about football shirts today, of course. We're going to be ranking football shirts on the Hot Wall, because it's been a little while since we did the Hot Wall. It's been a couple of weeks. So there's lots of shirts to catch up on, of course. And we've got some big teams. We've got some more niche shirts, some crazier shirts. Lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff to review today. So we'll get to that very shortly. But before we do, I want to say, if you are watching this and you've not subscribed to Phil's Corner, not subscribed to the channel, get involved by subscribing. You're supporting this channel, but you just get some content as well coming to you. And as a subscriber, of course, you also get notification when I go live for streams like this. So there's lots of reasons to subscribe, and it's completely free, so why not do that? That would be much appreciated. And I also have a Patreon if you want to get involved with a football show community, a dedicated football show community, where there are a range of benefits just by being part of that community, including entrance to giveaways, exclusive behind the scenes content from myself. There's monthly videos where I talk about my progress in the industry and that sort of thing. You can check out the link in the description. But as we've been doing recently, I wanted to start with a particular shirt and one of the more high profile shirts today, and that is the recently released Manchester United home shirt. So let's get over to the screen. And again, other shirts to review today. We need to talk about Wimbledon because that is fantastic. But let's get to the United home shirt. Now, of course, Manchester United, one of the biggest teams in the world. For better or for worse, their shirts are going to be some of the most worn, some of the most purchased shirts in the world, simply because of the team size. So this is an important one, even if it's not necessarily year on year necessarily the most exciting release. And I must say, this is, despite not being particularly crazy, I think there is actually quite a lot to talk about here. Now, really the star of the show, the main kind of design feature here is of course that gradient, and it's very interesting to see how the gradient design on the body of the kit, which you can see on the front and the back there on the running from top to bottom, it in many ways clashes with the Adidas template. Now, I've talked a lot this year about how much I like what Adidas have been doing with their template. I think it's a very versatile template. It allows for a lot of customization options. At first glance, I thought, whoa, this is, I mean, that's quite, you've got a lot of reds there. You know, just here, there's several shades of red because you've kind of got a gradient, not only in the body of the kit, on the chest and back panel, but even within, it looks to be, unless I'm mistaken, unless it's a lighting issue, there looks to be a bit of a gradient potentially as well on this section here. So it's a lot to take in actually at first glance. This is far from just a plain red kit. That gradient and the way it interacts with the other areas of the kit produces a very unusual kind of combo for United. I must say, I think it's quite, in some ways I'm kind of glad that they've actually pushed the bow out a little bit. Again, it would have been very easy to have the colour of this this panel here in white, matching the stripes, and in some ways that's probably the safer option. But indeed, having it in this lighter red means that you've got, again, quite a lot going on. It is almost a bit too busy or a bit too kind of clumsy from a colour perspective, but on the other hand, it does certainly produce a more striking design, I think, than it could have been. You know, when you look at the top of the kit, of course, like in this shot here, it looks completely standard. And indeed, there is a collar to talk about. That's fine. Nothing really too special about it. We've not seen many Adidas kits with solid cuffs actually, or cuff designs, and that would have been interesting to see that design on the cuffs. Would have been quite an interesting design choice. But yeah, I actually think when I look at this, it honestly does have something about it. You know, you see again this bottom area of the shirt. There's a lot of reds there. Almost looks like, yeah. I think it looks much better from the front than on the back. The clash of the panel here is quite striking. Sorry, going back to my thought, it almost looks like they've kind of got a flame sort of idea going on, or certainly a bit more of a dynamic look going on. So I'm not in love with this shirt. I don't think it's anything special, but I do think this is actually quite a daring, quite a progressive design, really. This is far from run-of-the-mill. I do think the colour choices lead to something quite compelling for me. So I think I want to put this at the bottom of the flame stick, which is, you know, one of those where the more I've looked at it, the more I thought, no, I think actually I'm not a big fan of gradients, but I think they've actually made the gradient into something quite interesting because of the colour choices. Again, it would have been very easy to just slap the gradient on and then keep everything else completely bog standard. But these colour choices, making use of that Adidas template in interesting ways, I'm actually partial to this. Nothing crazy. I'm going to stick it in the flames though. I think this is actually a good Manchester United home shirt. And not a bad start there at all. Good to see a few more friends dropping in. Ian, I can see Ian says, I dislike Manchester United as much as it is possible to dislike a club. I have to concede that this is a decent shirt. I saw some in the Adidas shop in Wembley yesterday and it looks good in reality too. That's always good to hear when you see a shirt, to get people's feedback from in-person looks. That's really cool, Ian. And respect to you for appreciating the kit even though they're a rival team or a team you don't like. I'm very much about that. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan and I've just talked quite positively about the United shirt. I like it more than I do our shirt this year. Where did I rank the Liverpool shirt, actually, come to think of it? Yeah, I ranked it there, so there you go. Bias is complete. You get objective opinions here, Phil Scholar. And Aidan, can see Aidan says, hey Phil, I think the United kit is okay. Great collar stripes, wish they'd gone either just the fade or the contrast red. Both is too much. I can definitely see your thinking there. I almost think when I look at this kit, I wonder if we could have had a little, not too much more, but a little bit more of these shades in the top area of the kit somehow. Maybe in the sleeves. I'm not suggesting the same exact gradient, but I think they could have brought some of this idea, some of this energy, if you like, into the top area of the kit. Maybe in the sleeves, as I say. But no, honestly, I think this is an above average United kit, and I actually think it's sneakily good. Worth noting the new sponsor as well. There's nothing special about it, but kind of vibes of the Vodafone era, isn't it? With the round logo there, definitely reminds you of that. So maybe aesthetically, I kind of prefer that as well. A minor upgrade, if you like. That is the Manchester United home kit. One second, I just need to switch my setup. There we go. Cool. Right, let's get back to it. Now, I was just typing that. Yeah, honestly, I think that's cool. I actually think this is like of the big home shirt releases we've seen. I think this is sneakily one of the better ones. So I'd be happy as a United fan. This is definitely one I'd probably pick up if I was a fan of the team. Let's do another before we loop back to Wimbledon. Let's do the West Ham kit because that's another fairly big release. With all due respect to the other teams, I think that's probably the other biggest team we've got today, he says. Rangers is pretty big. Anyway, I won't get into discussing how big a team is. That could get me in trouble. Let's go to the West Ham home shirt. This is, of course, another big release from the last couple of days. That's true, Aiden says. As with any kit, it's how well you're doing it that makes it a classic or not. That is probably the biggest factor. Certainly in what makes a kit memorable. I think, yeah, there have been many a great shirt design which has been lumped on a bad team, or a team which simply didn't wear a kit. You know, some of the best shirts or the most loved shirts in the kit community never get worn. So yeah, ultimately success on the pitch does help. Now, Umbro are on a bit of a tear this year, it's fair to say. It's their 100th anniversary. So it's funny, we just had Hummel's 100th anniversary last year. It's Umbro's turn this year. And one of the key features of Umbro kits this year, many of the Umbro kits, is that you've got the old Umbro logo, which is a nice change up. What's great about the old Umbro logo is it's very similar to the current one, but it's a very subtle change, but it does add a point of difference. And I must say, my first thought when I saw this was, this shirt looks like something almost lifted out of the tailor by Umbro era. Many people remember those the late noughties, early 10s era for Umbro, where there was a real kind of high-end fashion tailoring focus to the design of the shirts. Everything from the materials to the cut of the shirts to the sizing of the shirts was more aligned with what you'd expect to see in the fashion world. I mean, even some of the sizing for the kits wasn't in the typical small, medium, large, etc. It was done by chest size for the pro shirts. But anyway, I don't think we've got quite that material, but it certainly, when I first looked at it, the material of the shirt looked a bit thicker, and certainly the style of it is much more refined and much more down the, well, like Ian said there, the retro look. And it's really successful. I did see some people comment on the mismatched collar and cuffs. I think that's probably something I'd like to see the shirt with either of these designs on both areas. And I think probably it would look slightly tidier, but at the same time I don't think it detracts too much. I do think this is a very strong look. Of course though, we cannot ignore the sponsor. This is perhaps the worst sleeve sponsor you will see in the game this year. QuickBooks. I mean, for what it's worth, I use QuickBooks for my accounting, to create my invoices and such for my business. But they have no place here in the green. It looks horrible. It really does look. It clashes with everything from an aesthetic point of view. Now, I guess you could say that it's relatively simple, the logo, but the green is so it's not only is it a clash, but it's also this kind of shiny material which really draws the attention, kind of like a transfer. Yeah, it really is an eyesore. Now, to go back to the positives, we've got it in long sleeve, many kits now in long sleeve, being made available in long sleeve now, which is great. And again, I think Umbro have essentially nailed the brief. But as Max says, I could see Max is our best kit in years, been trying to find a way to get that sleeve sponsor off. Yeah, you will not be the only ones, doing that. Like, just look at that. That whole shot it's a perfect shot, and the sleeve sponsor is horrible. They're not the only team. Of course, you can think of many sponsors who are very strict with their brand guidelines. As such, they will not recolor anything, and it is a real shame. So we have to factor in sponsors, guys. We have to factor in front of shirt sponsors, sleeve sponsors when it comes to kits. Many of the kits which have been ranked quite low on our tier list over the years when we've done the hot wall have been because of really bad sponsors. So there haven't been too many this year. But that really holds the kit back. I could never in good faith put a shirt with that sleeve sponsor in the Volcano tier. And I think it's probably, well, if it is going to be in the Flames tier, it's going to be a lot lower than it could have been, which is a real shame because it is quite a good kit. I think I would still put it in the Flames tier, and that says how much I like the overall shirt. There you go. Let's ignore the sleeve sponsor for our little thumbnail. Pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah, Ian again, just spot on. It says, imagine how much better that QuickBooks logo would look in claret. Exactly. I think, you know, it's one of those things. I think more sponsors now, I would say, seem to be open to recoloring their logos. But unfortunately, QuickBooks haven't done that, haven't allowed that. I think we'll stick West Ham here, and again, it could easily have been higher in the tier list, but that sponsor is one of the worst I've seen certainly this year so far. I keep forgetting to do this. So one thing we're doing this year, we're also tracking the brand's overall performance. So Adidas, we'll bump them up a few points there. Similarly, Umbro, we can go slightly lower. The idea with these names here is that as a brand shirt gets placed on the tier list, we'll move the brand name up and down accordingly, but it is fairly vague. It's more just to give an idea of some of the brands who I'm enjoying. Ada says every logo should work in single color black and white. That is honestly a good principle. It's interesting because I think with someone like QuickBooks, it's clear that their green is key to their to their brand identity, but that is ultimately quite damaging. It's quite a forgettable logo. I think just with the letters, you can understand in some ways why they would use the green, but it really hurts. Ultimately, it really hurts the aesthetics of the kit. And I think there's an argument to be said for the recently leaked Leeds United home shirt with the Red Bull sponsor. It just dominates everything, and unless you're a big fan of Red Bull, it's ultimately, I would say, quite negative. Although there is a novelty factor, but having said that, there's so many Red Bull teams now that the novelty factor is kind of worn off. Anyway, so that's two pretty good home shirts, all things considered, but nothing to pressure the top of our tier list. I do want to skip ahead before we loop back around to Wimbledon. I do want to skip ahead to Sunderland because, as many of you saw, if I can find them, there they are. As I announced recently. As my patrons knew a bit more, a bit beforehand, I should say. I had the real privilege of, working with Sunderland, and I've helped with a few videos on each of their new kits. I don't know exactly when they're going to go live. I hopefully quite soon. But yeah, a real privilege to be asked by the club to go to the Stadium Light and film alongside members of the club, and also my good friend Rob Revel from Hummel, from the UK Hummel team. He is someone I've worked with before on my Behind the Chevrons videos with Hummel, so it's great to link up with him again and again to meet members of Sunderland. And I have to say, guys, it's a great set of kits. I obviously can't say anything more about the away and third kits, but I will just say that you've got a lot to look forward to, whether you're a fan of Sunderland or just a fan of kits. A hugely positive reaction to their home kit, which was released the other day, and I must say, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I would say that perhaps because I was again working with them, but I think even taking a step back, this is a textbook striped home shirt, and more than that, to see the return of the chevrons all the way down the sleeves is a wonderful treat. I was so looking forward to seeing this, or hoping to see this at some point from Hummel. I'd even joked with Rob when I saw him in Denmark for one of our filming sessions that I kind of want to see Hummel go back to this if they can, and to see it in the long sleeves here is just wonderful. But this is more than just the sleeves. There's a really good pattern in the red stripes. which is comprised of the, I believe it's the boat of the old crest. So a really tasteful design, a really good. This is an excellent subliminal pattern, the kind of pattern which gives the red stripes some kind of texture and interest without taking away from it at all. Of course, that there's a pattern as well on the sleeves, and other things that I look for in stripe kits. We're wanting to see, are there stripes again on the sleeves, yes or no? There isn't a hard and fast rule to that, but I quite like it when there are on the sleeves. And indeed the back is fully striped as well, which is something a lot of stripe teams can't say. Great details, corners on the back, inside neck. Guys, I don't think it will surprise you to hear, or maybe it will surprise you to hear, I think this is a Volcano t-shirt. Now, the sponsor is probably one I would want to improve. It's not the best sponsor by any means, but I absolutely, I've got to get some of the sleeves in there at least. I absolutely love this one. I think it's a really, really good shirt, and again, the long sleeves clinches it for me. That definitely takes it to the next level. So congrats to Sunderland. What a time to be a Sunderland fan. I think, again, coming in Hummel, there was a lot of high expectations. I really think they have delivered. Now, there are better shirts for me this year. I don't think this is one of my kind of top 5 or even top 10, but it's still very good. I'm going to stick it right there. Wonderful, wonderful kit. And again, I think the hype from the fans is fully justified. And given that Hummel are here, I think we can move them up a bit. If we let's just do a bit of a shift there. There we go. It's good stuff, guys. It's really good stuff. And again, there's more to come, so I won't say too much more. But really impressed with that from Sunderland. And Hummel bodes well for the future of the partnership. Again, I just need to make sure I've got something sorted there. There we go. Okay, let's continue. So let's loop back around. Let's go back to Wimbledon. And again, we talked about Umbro. Well, we're back with Umbro again for the Wimbledon away kit. And this has a lot of things going for it. Now, we just talked about striped kits. What do we like to see in a striped kit? Well, stripes on the back for a start. Really like the look of this, and I love this jacquard, the diamonds in the body of the shirt. Absolute chef's kiss there. The thing is with jacquard patterns like this, they really help add a retro aesthetic. It's the kind of thing which shirts in the 90s and particularly did very well. And I think there's something to be said about a pattern like this. I've said this so many times, but I'll repeat it because I think it's important. When you have a jacquard pattern like this, it means that the light interacts with the kit in interesting ways. It really does. It's vastly superior to just a sublimated pattern. But there's other great things too. Can we just appreciate the placement of this sponsor here? I believe Warchild are they a charity of some sort? I can't remember exactly. But absolutely brilliant placement. It sounds silly, but it's perfectly aligned there, and that's great to see. And in terms of a design, these kind of chunky, thick stripes, it looks good to me. I love it. Again, we've got long sleeves. So many teams now are bringing out long sleeve kits. I think we can safely say long sleeve kits are back. It seems like many more brands are producing them and producing good long sleeve versions as well, where the pattern continues throughout the sleeves, etc. And yeah, we've got, again, a very retro, very 90s Umbro neckline, which suits the vibe of the kit very well. I think this is wonderful. I think this is a really, really strong look. Speaking of collar and cuffs as well, a kind of mirrored look here. I don't mind that at all. It actually feels, unlike the West Ham kit where the mismatched collar and cuffs was a bit more jarring, I think here on this Wimbledon kit, given the nature of the shirt being again, striped and a little bit more. There's more of a kind of two-tone feel to it, having the reflect, like even in the back neck detail, right? This kind of reflected element, having the reflected collar and cuffs kind of makes more sense. If anything, I think it's a good move as opposed to West Ham, where it's probably a slight negative. This is great. I think this is a really, really, really good look. I'd probably like to see the 100th anniversary logo there. So it's, you know, that's a small thing. I think this is very high up in the Flames tier for me. I don't quite like it as much as Sunderland's, but I wouldn't put it far below that. It's great stuff. It's great stuff from Umbro, who are shaping up to be pretty good this year. I think, you know, they've been quiet. I say relatively quiet for a brand of their size, but they're on the up again, which is good to see. I think when Umbro are doing well in the kit game, everyone wins. And I'm going to put this shirt as high as here. I think it is absolutely brilliant. Ian says, we would have looking very Wickham here. Indeed, indeed. And yeah, the strap neck collar is very into early 90s. It is JPL. That's exactly the vibe. Exactly the vibe. And that is no bad thing. We've got more, guys. We've got plenty more. We don't want to waste too much time. We've got so many. We probably won't catch up today because we did miss a couple of weeks, but we will keep going. Let's go to Wolfsburg. We've got home and away kits here from Nike. Now, first impression are these are relatively standard. There's nothing too exciting at first glance, but let's take a closer look. If we go to the black, which I don't know which is home or away. I think this is the green is the home. The light green is the home. So let's start with the home then. Now, that shade of green, that very luminous shade of green, of course, is very, very Wolfsburg. It's hard to really get too excited about the overall design. This kind of central stripe, which has a kind of like a sort of almost like a looks like a slash across it, or even like a lightning bolt perhaps. It's got an interesting aesthetic, but ultimately I don't think it's my favourite base style of a shirt. I'd probably like this more if it was stripes, for example, or hoops, but this is, you know, more akin with the club. I mean, if we look at their if we just look at their kit history, you can kind of see they've obviously had various styles over the years, often quite plain, but they've had kind of some successful sash kits and kind of cross designs, and I think I'd almost want to see, I guess in some ways this kind of, again, this kind of cut out slash section, whatever you want to call it, is kind of an homage to that, but I think I probably prefer a sash or a cross. I do actually quite like their cross kits. I think that would have been quite cool to see. And I think that would have elevated the kit. Also, I like these darker shades that they've used here, and I'd like to see a bit of that, I think, again in the cuffs, in the sleeves perhaps. So I think this is a good foundation to build a kit on, but I really think they could have done more. But it is pretty strong, and I think it's definitely pushing the Flames tier for me, but it would be more like in our third tier, I think, in our candle tier, which isn't a bad place to be. I think somewhere kind of fairly high in the candle tier is where I'm landing for the home shirt. Again, perhaps it was too obvious to do a sash or a cross kit, but I think it would have looked better. But nonetheless, not the worst placement there for Wolfsburg. Ian says Wolfsburg just had the best colours, and the VW logo is a massive plus point. Yeah, I think the VW logo is quite fun. It's, you know, generally speaking, I think car logos are pretty strong. They tend to be some of the more the stronger ones in the game. Of course, now as well for a number of years since their rebrand, I think it was, they've been a lot more accommodating, and we talked about the QuickBooks logo and them being quite stubborn. We can see VW here are much more open to recolouring, and also of course this kind of cutout version, which is really good, benefits the shirts massively. and you can see here on the away, I'm less into this one. I think from a colour perspective, this has legs with the black and the well, you've got the kind of home green, the luminous green, in tandem with a much more kind of deeper green, a more sort of bluer shade of green. But ultimately, I don't think the pattern here is strong. Actually, for all the things I would have preferred about the home shirt, I think it is actually better as a pattern than these kind of faded out stripes. It's a bit weaker, but I wouldn't put it much further below the home. I think this is actually still kind of mid to high candle tier, but not unlike the home shirt, which I think has an outside shot of the flames tier in my mind. This one is much more in the middle of the pack, or maybe slightly above the middle of the pack, I should say, because of course most of the shirts will end up in this third tier, and the average is somewhere probably around here, I would say. So I'd take this one above many shirts we've seen, but not too high. Ada says, it's just here this all time or season by season. It's every shirt, give or take, released this calendar year. So there are some shirts from last season, for example, shirts like the AC Milan kit here, which was a collaboration shirt towards the end of last season. The majority of shirts are, of course, for the 2024-25 season, though. And it's every shirt, give or take. I have missed actually quite a few weeks of releases, so there are going to be gaps. But the idea is, by the end of the year, we will have a list which we can slowly pour over. It's kind of a bit busy and a bit silly, really, but I kind of like that. And it's honestly one of my favourite things about this is just like now when I'm looking through, there's shirts I completely forgot about. Oh yeah, I remember that now. It's worth saying as well, at some point later in the year, maybe when it gets a bit quieter, we will do a bit of a retrospective and move a few shirts up and down. There are some shirts which since being worn on pitch I've actually thought I like a lot more, and vice versa. Kits which I thought I liked, but then when seeing them on the pitch, like, as much as I think the Belgium home is still a great shirt, I don't think it's deserving quite of this higher spot. I still think it's very good and probably still in the Volcano tier, but yeah, it definitely didn't quite resonate with me as much on first impression, or on seeing it at the Euros. But anyway, I should also look at Nike as well. So they're actually pretty much exactly where the Wolfsburg shirts ended up. But there we go. Let's continue, guys. Let's continue. Just want to say thank you for sorry, as I cough. Thank you for tuning in today. If you are new, please do subscribe, and lots more videos to come on the channel. Yeah, thanks for stopping by for the stream though. Hope everyone's been enjoying the Euros as well. I think there's been a lot of good games. It's definitely been quite intriguing. Any thoughts for the quarterfinals? Just to see who people's favourites are, what people's thoughts are about the matchups we have this weekend. We come to Almeria, who are with Castor. Now, of course, Castor have I think it's fair to say, dubious reputation amongst the football kit community, and their rapid expansion over recent years has led to a very mixed bag when it comes to their designs. However, I think now the dust is beginning to settle, there are a lot of good Castor shirts out there, and I think often the reputation of the brand has kind of clouded a lot of their better designs. I'd agree, Mike. Spain are looking very good, and I think well, right from the first game they were showing flashes, and I think they're absolutely one of the favourites now. Although I forget what the what the bracket looks like, who they're playing, who they'll face. In fact, this is a distraction, but let's have a look. So, well, they're playing Germany. Wow, that is a big game. Can I get a bracket in here, please? I could just Google it, couldn't I? Here we go. So, Spain, Germany. That is a humongous clash. Excited for that. Portugal, France. Could go either way, but you'd probably favour the French there. I think Switzerland will probably beat us on Saturday, but we'll see. And then Netherlands, Turkey's quite a fun one. I can see that going to extra time. But anyway, you're not here to see my predictions, but I think definitely some fun matchups there. Be a great couple of days. Anyway, enough of that. So looking at this Umbro kit, I think the base colour is quite strong, quite an attractive shady green, and the little stars here, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about them. You know, they're quite uniform. They're sort of neatly forming, almost like stripes across the kit. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I would say I think the shirt is missing a bit of trim potentially. Maybe a bit more in the way of something on the collar or cuffs. It has the feeling of a sort of training top, pre-match top. Again, I think the colour, like, it looks good. You see it paired with the with the shirt underneath. It doesn't look too bad there, does it? And it's definitely a stylish kit. But I think on its own, it just feels a little bit like they're missing something. However, I do think it's quite a smart shirt. And despite some points of improvement, I actually think this one does deserve to be in the Flames tier. Only just. I'd probably put it below even something like the United shirt that we looked at. But I think this is actually a good effort from Castore. I mean, this is the third kit, right? Or is it an away kit? It's an away kit. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, providing a nice contrast, no doubt, to the home. I think we could go somewhere like here for the Umbro kit on the border, but one of the better Castore shirts of the year. Ian says, Castore have decent Newcastle and Wolves shirts from last season. However, the customer service of Castore when trying to purchase a chartered shirt was the worst ever. Oof, that hurts to hear, Ian. And certainly, this is the thing with Castore. It's not just their designs, but reputation in terms of customer service has not been very good from what I've seen. So, not good for the brand. That stuff, you know, designs are often quite subjective, but bad customer service is no excuse for it. Not good to hear. And JPS said, we'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the Umbro Cambridge United releases. Well, JPR, since we're not going to be able to catch up anyway today, I think we've got time to do some requests. So, I'm just going to bring up, well, assuming they're on Football Show Culture, the site that we're using for these rankings. Let's have a look. Cambridge United. There we go. We do have them. So let's do the home and away kit. And I believe they had quite a crazy goalkeeper kit, didn't they? But we're not doing goalkeeper kits for the Hot Wall. Right. Yes. These are the ones. These are the ones. I was just trying to remember which kits they were. Let's start with the home. Now again, we've talked a lot about Umbro. This jacquard, which we saw in the Wimbledon kit, great to see that again. And I think, you know, a lot of discussion today about collar and cuffs, whether they should match or not. Well, seeing the match here, it's a very strong combination. I think it's a very simple aesthetic thing as well about, because you've got the club crest with the football, and it's obviously got a lot of white and black. Well, that ties in nicely with the collar and cuffs again. That jacquard is fantastic in the body. I really think that looks sorry, it looks strong. And it's a very effective look. Sponsor is fine, nothing too much to say about that there. And even though I'm not often a big one button collar fan, I'm not going to hold it against this kit. I think it does actually overall look quite strong. Excuse me. I think as a home shirt, I'll be very happy with that. And I mean, looking again, we previously talked about Umbro. We've talked about Umbro a couple of times, and just having a look here. So where did we rank? Photoshop's been a bit slow here. So we had the West Ham kit here. I think the Cambridge one, for me, is probably just above the West Ham kit. Despite both being broadly retro in feel, they are quite different. But I think I would give Cambridge the edge when push comes to shove. And that's high praise. I mean, this is a good position to be in the tier list. Another win for Umbro, so a good day at the office for them. And of course, there's more to come because we have this away. James says, yeah, the goalkeeper kit seemed to be based on the England Euro 96 quality templates. Okay, yeah. I like it. Like it a lot. So, Cambridge away. We've seen a real trend in the area of floral shirts. Shirts based or loosely based on flowers and fauna. And I must say, I think this kit as a whole looks great, but I don't think, like, in this category, we have seen better shirts. We have seen better kits, floral based kits. However, it's still an absolutely brilliant design in terms of its impact. It's immediately, it immediately grabs you. Of course, looks like there might be a plain back, which is a shame. But anyway, looking at the, like, if I'm being really picky, and hey, that's my job, for better or for worse. The actual design of the flowers is a little bit clip art. It's lacking the kind of finesse of some of the better floral kits we've seen. That clip art is a bit harsh. What I mean by that is the style of the graphics here, of the vectors, it's a little bit, yeah, it's lacking a bit of that kind of slightly more hand-drawn feel, which I think some of the best floral kits have out there. If I think of something like the Alive and Kicking shirts, hey Andreas, good to see you. The Alive and Kicking shirts, they were much better in this category. So this is great, don't get me wrong. And actually, you know, they've recolored the crest again, which is good, and the sponsor. Great collar and cuffs. This is still, like, this is easily a Flames t-shirt, but it could probably have been a Volcano t-shirt, I think, with just a slightly different aesthetic. I mean, we can see here, you know, some other floral kits. Interesting shout that is. It looks like something like the Canadian League. Definitely has a bit of that vibe, doesn't it? We have seen many shirts in the CPL of this kind of vibe. It's a great kit, and you know, you can see, like, in terms of the brief to create again a floral kit. It's funny actually, because when I see this, I like this a lot more than something like the Portugal away shirt, which of course is quite a similar colourway. But my main criticism with the Portugal kit was I just thought it looked a bit too washed out, and I think, you know, this is perhaps a bit too far on the other end of the spectrum, you could say, but it's definitely preferable to me compared to that Portugal kit. So I like this one a lot, but it's not pushing the top area of the tiers for me. I think we can go here, pair it just next to the Dutch there, and you know, for all my reservations, it's still a great shirt, and I'm happy to see Umbro performing well today. They're definitely one of the stars of the show, and that is the Cambridge shirt. So a good, I mean, that's a great couple of kits, to be fair. When you've got the home shirt there and the away shirt here, doesn't get much better. Cambridge fans should be very happy with what they get. And we look at the Huntersville Town home kit. Yes, that is another one to talk about. So again, we're kind of jumping around a bit, but because we've missed so many weeks, happy to do that. And I think, in fact, what I will probably do is just go through and pick out. Yeah, again, we're not going to be able to catch up today, so we'll jump around. If anyone has any other requests, do jump on Football Show Culture, and you can chuck it in the chat. Tell me which ones you want me to review. First, we'll come to Huddersfield Town because, of course, well, I say of course, some of you might not know, I am based in Huddersfield. I've lived here for 13 years now, coming on 13 years, so it's kind of, you know, an adopted home for me, and I really like the town. I don't often go to Huddersfield Town games, but I do, you know, try to get to at least a couple a year. And yeah, a team with which have a lot of affinity for. Now, I think this is a real triumph in terms of a design from Umbro. Again, we've got their anniversary logo, which is fantastic, and the kind of houndstooth element of the kit here is really strong. We've seen, for example, a number of other kits, like the new Real Madrid shirt, incorporate houndstooth style patterns, and of course, it's synonymous with fashion and textiles more broadly. It's a wonderful choice. I think it really adds a lot to the look of the stripes. We've got a very chunky collar as well, which is matched with the cuffs. I'm not the biggest fan of these styles of collars, but I can't argue that it looks good here. And again, the execution I think is really good from Umbro. The sponsor is not fantastic. There are worse in the game, but it's definitely not a strength of the kit. But I think it's great. You know, when you look at, again, with striped kits, you're looking to things like, are there straps in the back or the sleeves? And there is, which is generally, I'd say, a good thing. And again, I think with a better sponsor, it would have every shot going a bit higher on the tier list. I don't mind the 3 stars on the back, of course, which is a nice detail in the embroidered style there. This is very good. It is a very, yeah, indeed. I said that retro collar. That collar, retro bold. It is like, it's super chunky, but it does add to the vibe. And JPS says, "What's this about Umbro's Brazilian League kits?" Yeah, because they've got the kind of houndstooth element, it almost does have that kind of Brazilian vibe where you've got like a third color framing. Like, we've talked a lot about Brazilian kits in the past, like pinstripes that are framing the stripes. There's probably a more technical term for that. I think this is like just missing out on the Volcano tier for me, and I'm talking like right at the top of the tier. I think this is like one of the best home shirts of the year. It's not quite in my top tier. I think I will keep it from, like, I do prefer the Sunderland kit to this one as much as I like this. We'll stick it all the way up here though. That's how much I do like it. I think it is absolutely brilliant, and another Umbro banger. So I think I can comfortably say they deserve a spot. Well, they've overtaken the likes of Roby. And again, one thing to note with this section of the tier list, guys, of course, if a brand only has 1 or 2 shirts and they're very good, they're going to shoot up here, like the brand Lexa. Don't expect to see them. You know, there are better brands out there. It just so happens that I think that was this was the I forget the name of the team now. The Guinness shirts. There are going to be, you know, better. And again, we've only ranked 1 Reebok shirt and not a Spotifogo shirt. So anyway, enters Phil. No, I know. Maybe again, when we see this on the pitch, I might change my mind. It is fantastic. I think the sponsor is a bit of a shame, but then that is true of many shirts. Yeah, Huddersfield textile cloth is an nod to the house vibe. Exactly. I mean, that's another thing close to my heart. My wife works in the textile industry. She works at a mill in Holmfirth, so it could have been much closer to home in that sense. Maybe if we get promoted, I would be very happy to see that. Yeah, happy for just a bit of stability and optimism. Promotion would definitely help in that regard. Anyway, Huddersfield, very, very strong as a whole. One of their best home shirts in a long time. Now, I think what I'll do is I'm going to go through and just pick out shirts I want to rank. Because again, let's look at Frankfurt. We could do another Umbro kit. Let's do a bit of Puma. Sorry, well, PSV and Puma. Watford, Millwall. I think we could do those. Carlisle, Rangers. I think. Oh, Lazio. Let's do Spurs. Cool. I think that'll do. Let's kind of finish. Ah, here we go. Bit of Japan. We could do the Japan shirts. Okay, cool. I've picked out a selection. That's the ones we're going to do. I've rattled them off. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kits to end the show on. Again, we've got so many that we kind of have to be selective. Having said that, we actually have almost caught up. But again, this is what we will rank for the rest of the video. Let me just check we're all okay on there. We are indeed. Cool. Let's continue. So, Eintracht Frankfurt. A number of people were memeing on this shirt, joking about this shirt being like a cigarette packet, like a Marlboro cigarette packet, and it's not hard to see why. Perhaps a slightly unfortunate coincidence. I think this could have been so much more interesting. It's funny because you see the old kit, which of course this is inspired by, and it's got all these great stars. Perhaps a little bit too it would have been perhaps too on the nose to do that, but at the same time I think this is given how clean the shirt is, it's kind of a missed opportunity. I'm not saying they would have had to introduce the stars like this, but it's ultimately quite boring, and like having this little star here is a very token gesture. If anything, I almost think that's a bit annoying that they've kept it so restricted on the kit. It could have been so much more. I don't think there's enough in this overall look for it to particularly stand out, even though it is bespoke. So a real missed opportunity. Could have been so much more. Alas, with the finished package that we have, I think this is more of a candle tier, probably other middle candle tier as well. Again, sometimes with retro kits or kits inspired by old shirts, it can kind of do a shirt quite a lot of damage, in the sense that when you see the old kit, you kind of wish, oh, why didn't we have something a bit more like that? Not that it has to be a remake, and the real skill with a retro kit is to take that source of inspiration and make something that's somewhat new and fresh whilst channeling the essence of the old kit, not just a straight remake, as nice as that it can be. So I think Frankfurt, this is a missed opportunity. I think it's still pretty smart, but we'll go down here. Yeah, agreed. Aiden says the Star Edition is terrible, like an afterthought. Looks like another random infirmary in there. Absolutely, it's all. Honestly, I almost think I don't have it there if it's going to be like that. Maybe I'm just being a bit kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not mean. I was going to say mean, but bit overly critical. But yeah. Grimsby, I wanted to talk about another Umbro shirt, because I think they are doing some great work, and let's see what they're doing down in League 2. Firstly, talking about retro and old school details, love the retro wording here on the Mariners there. That looks really good. I like that detail, and indeed it's quite interesting when you see this shirt. Again, a remake or a nod to a old Ribeiro shirt. Ribeiro, one of the great 90s brands, the kind of lost brands of the 90s, and they were fantastic. And it's cool to see this take on it. It's obviously different. be it the shade of the gold here, and we don't have a collar in the traditional sense. But I do like that they've kept the piping on the sleeves. I think that is quite, like, for me, that's a look I quite enjoy, and that is of course quite a retro thing, but it works, you know, today as much as it did then in the 90s. So I think this is quite a nice shirt, and again, seeing those details, I don't mind them not having a collar. Ultimately, again, I think the strength of this, it really does live or die with the pattern, and I think the pattern is an attractive one. It does go all the way on the sleeves and the back, and again, I think maybe it's just me, but it feels like more, like two things: more clubs seem to be doing long sleeve shirts, and I think more clubs also are doing patterns on the back. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. I'm certainly, like, now I feel like when I see a plain back on a patterned kit, it seems to stand out even more, but maybe again I am wrong there. It'd be great to have, if someone had far too much time on their hands and they could do a full analysis of how many shirts have plain backs or patterned fronts and plain backs. That'll be a fun bit of research. I say fun for people like me, but far too time consuming of a project, but there we go. Grimsby, I think we could go, I think this can sneak into the Flames tier. In fact, I like it as much as, I think we can go here. I think it looks good next to Dortmund there. Very solid, another good Umbro release. That's been the headline of today, really, guys. The strength of Umbro across the divisions. Really impressed with them. What about PSV? We've not talked as much about Puma. Quite a interesting colourway now. Of course, this is very Brazilian inspired PSV with a quite a long-running connection to Brazil through the likes of Romario and Ronaldo, who played for the club. I think this has a lot of nice elements. I think from a colour perspective, I really do like the shade of blue and the green and the yellow as well. Of course, immediately quite evocative. I'd probably want a bit more of that. I think we could have seen something more in the body of the shirt, even just little flecks. I talk a lot about flecks and like bits of colour in that sense. I think it would have helped here. Still quite a nice idea with the collar and the cuffs, and it's subtle. I think because you've got quite a plain body, again the white base, you've kind of got license to go all out, and they could have done more. Like, I think to really take this one to the next level, why not have the Puma logo and maybe even the sponsor, if they would allow it, in more of a kind of colourful style. Think something like the Belgium away kit from a couple of cycles ago, the Tomorrowland kit. Like a multicoloured element to the Puma logo with greens and yellows. I think that could have looked really, really quite smart. As is, I think it's a very nice kit. Could have been so much more, but I think this is probably high counter, so, you know, pushing the door of the top two tiers. Like the idea, I think the execution is reasonable. Could have been better, but then again, I don't know why I'm struggling to find a good. There we go. Something like that. Yeah, very interesting choice, and quite, you know, fun to see something quite out there in terms of a team's colour choices and style design for a third kit. Of course, a third kit is a great place to do that. And yeah, I think this one can go here. Maybe a bit higher. Let's go here. And of course, this is a Puma kit, so we will move them ever so slightly. Let's continue with Watford and the brand Kelme. Now, Kelme have been a brand who have not really kicked on as much as I would have liked to have seen. Watford are, of course, one of their biggest teams. in their stable. One of the biggest, teams, Kelme teams in the game. I don't think I'm liking the overall cut of this one. There are elements to appreciate. There seems to be some sort of pattern and texture in the body and the sleeves of the kit, and that's really good. These are the kind of quality details which you often only see from the bigger brands. So Kelme being more of a brand in the middle of the pack, they of course have great history, but they're not one of the bigger brands in world football. However, again, there's a decent looking quality to this kit. But I think just from a kind of cut perspective, again, the cut of the shoulder, of the sleeves there, even the collar, it's looking a bit off to me, a bit imbalanced. Now, it is worth pointing out pinch ups on the back. Again, we're seeing that. That's great. But just, I don't think this one is really that attractive from a construction point of view, from a paneling point of view. Now, I'm being very picky there. I do think ultimately the pinstripes do work as a look, and I think again from a quality perspective, from a texture perspective, there's a lot to like. You can see a bit more of that jacquard and some details which are looking good. It's not, again, not fully to my taste, but I do think this is a good showing from Kelme, and it's definitely the kind of thing which makes you want to see more of the brand, because when you see how kind of competitive and stacked the football shirt industry is in the kind of middle of the pack, and you see brands like Kelme who really, I think if you ask people to name their top 10 manufacturers, if they're really into kits, and they can name 10, Kelme probably aren't going to feature in many people's top 10s, I would have thought. But actually, they have produced some good work, and this is actually, again, I would say above average, even though it's not personally just quite clicking for me. Like for me, it's somewhere in this kind of region. So let's go here. In fact, let's go just here. And if I can find Kelme, they may not even be on the list, to be fair. I'm just looking. This is a comprehension exercise. We've got Kyrgios. I can't see Kelme, so I think this is our first Kelme shirt of the year. Again, I honestly could be missing it, but I've just looked a few times, so we're going to stick them on the boards just behind Castor. Obviously this is not too scientific, so let's get Kelme there, and hopefully we see, I forget who they're working with in all honesty alongside Watford, but hopefully we see a few more shirts from them so we can more properly evaluate their work. But good stuff from Watford and Kelme. But what about Millwall and Araya? Now, we talked about that competitive slate of the industry with manufacturers below the kind of big three, Nike, Adidas, Puma. Well, Araya are definitely staking the claim as one of the better brands in shirts. Another retro looking shirt, but I think again the strength of a retro kit lies in the details, and I think this one is definitely up there. Just visually as a kit, I really do like this style. It's a kind of unusual style to see for Millwall, to see that much white on the kit, on the home shirt, but I do think it looks strong. And indeed the collar and cuffs again are absolutely brilliant, matched to perfection, really helping the overall aesthetic. I mean, the diamonds in the body of the shirt, I'm not sure if they are sublimated or part of the fabric. Of course, if it was part of the fabric, that would be a step up. It looks to me like it might be sublimated, but that's not going to harm the shirt too much. I think overall the impact of the look is really good. I like this one a lot, and I don't think we're talking volcano tier, but this is an easy flames tier. This is definitely in the ballpark of that Cambridge shirt. And I think I like it more, the Cambridge shirt. Oh, just says, very nice job, I like it, especially with that collar. Yeah, I think the collar is excellent. Honestly, I think it's a really good kit. I think in terms of the, again, like, I think it's important with a retro inspired shirt, it's good to look at it and judge it on its merits. So regardless of whether it's based on an old kit or not, does the shirt hold up on its own? I think this one really does. I think this one is definitely the kind of kit which separates itself from a number of vaguely retro looking designs. I think this one is actually just objectively a good look for the club. And I think every element, even the diamonds, are quite important to that. I think they help add something to the kit. Were those diamonds a bit more prominent? It may be too much, but I think having it more subliminal is definitely a good thing. So I'm just looking here, and to be honest, when I look at this tier list here, I don't actually mind putting the Millwall kit all the way up here. We've got Germany home there. I think it's, in my mind anyway, I'm thinking something like this. So really good position for a rare. And of course, we need to bump them up the tier list accordingly. Yeah, we'll push Oxen up there. Or maybe we'll just do this actually. There we go. Yeah, really like it. Really like it from Millwall. And that is a solid shirt from a brand to continue to impress in many ways. What about colour? I had to get another Umbro shirt in here. Now, I'm just going to be honest. Despite this being a very bold look, I don't really like these colours and this pattern. And this is just, I think, an example, which I didn't want to particularly highlight, of a kit which is quite daring, is quite out there, and has that kind of that charm which we see in a lot of the older kits, where you've got an all-over pattern like this, which is almost quite visually arresting in some ways, and that's what especially collectors love to see. But I don't think this is actually that attractive a shirt. I think the colour combo is not particularly nice when you've got this kind of minty green base overlaid with blues and pinks. It's honestly, I think in a different colourway I'd like this a lot more. Not helped by the sponsor, which is a very clunky logo. Anytime you have a logo like this with a long tagline, there's a lot to kind of incorporate, and it clashes heavily with the look. Apologies. And even the recolored crest as well isn't that great. Though it is recolored, I think having it in the pink there, honestly, I don't think this is actually that good a shirt. Now, maybe this is another retro inspired shirt, and if I saw the old kit I'd understand it more. Let's see if there's anything on the blurb. Nothing on here saying whether it's new or completely new or based on old kit. So I'm not gonna like put this kit in the ice cube tier by any means, but this is much more of a kind of middle candle tier. Despite being one of the most out there kits we've looked at today, I think ultimately it's not that attractive. So I'm going to stick it down here. Perhaps a bit harsh, but you know, Umbro, I've loved their work today, but that is definitely a shirt which I would pass on, despite how daring it is. Credit for not just creating a blank kit, but I don't think those colours look very good together. That's my take anyway. What about Rangers? Now we're back with Castor. Speaking of piping, again, like we talked about with the Grimsby kit earlier, I like seeing this on kits. It definitely has a kind of a late 90s, early 90s, early noughties vibe about this kind of style. We saw, you know, we've seen piping or kind of trim of this style for many years, but I think mostly of that kind of turn of the millennium period. As a kit, as an overall look, there's not too much here. We do have that pattern in the body, which is a strong subliminal pattern, and it's a classic sort of direction to go down to add interest to your home shirts. Again, where you know what you're going to get with most home shirts, but a pattern like this does give you something to think about. Ultimately, I don't think the execution is quite there. Even just things like seeing the pattern, the way the cut of it is just below the neckline, feels like it could have been a bit crisper. And I think ultimately, I don't like this one as much as, say, some of the Umbro shirts we looked at with the jacquards that we've seen. There didn't seem to be anything in the way of that. This does look to be just sublimated, albeit quite well. Quote there on the inside of the kit. So it's kind of like a mid counter tier. It's perfectly reasonable, but it's definitely not anything too stand out, and it's much more kind of middle of the pack from Castor. I do think they have done better and will do better this year. I'm not going to push this one too far down. I think we're still kind of mid to high kind of tier when I look at it here. Yeah, I'd take it's not the Watford kit for me. I think I'd stick it there. That is Rangers and Castor, of course. We are let's just try and find them. There we go. I think we can keep them there. And that is Rangers. What about Lazio? Now, Mizuno have done a lot of good stuff, notably with Lazio in the last couple of years. And one of the things that's made Mizuno kits so strong has been the use of embossed patterns, something which I really like, and typically, much like our discussion on jacquard designs, I think embossed patterns have a lot of legs, and it's one of my favourite techniques that we see in shirts. I'm glad to see a lot of brands bring that back. Macron especially have been doing some really good embossed designs. I like this one a lot. It's quite charming to see the names in this kind of style. I assume where did Lazio finish last year? Did they actually qualify for Europe? I honestly can't remember. Okay, they may possibly be in the Conference League or the Europa League. I was going to say, I think UEFA may have something to say about the repeated team names, but anyway, that aside, it's a very kind of Roman feel, doesn't it, with this kind of the aesthetics of the pattern. Unfortunately, plain on the back, and I'm not sure what I'm going to presume that's Japanese because of Mizuno, but I couldn't tell you for sure. So I think they could have, I love that pattern. The rest of the kit was a bit too generic, a bit too standard for me. Maybe like in an ideal world, again, more of an embossed element on those areas of the kit would be good. I would definitely want to see more on the back as well. So this is like very, very high counter tier. Not far from the Flames tier, but I do think Mizuno have done better in recent years. I don't think this is a high point for them, even though I do really like that pattern in the body. I think that is, again, with so many retro looks, you're looking to things like patterns like that, which can separate themselves from the crowd. I think it is a really good pattern, a really good embossed pattern, and the technique does excite me, but I don't think it's an astounding shirt. It's a good one, but there are better. Now, again, Mizuno haven't had it all their way this year. I think it's fair to say I haven't felt as high on them, but then we've also not seen many Mizuno kits this year, so I think that's important to say. That's the Lazio kit. What about the Spurs away shirt? Now, first impression is that I think the shirt has legs. It's not my favourite colourway, but I do think this one, compare this to, say, the Wolfsburg shirt which you looked at. I think this is much more dynamic than that shirt. It feels a lot less run of the mill. I'm not the biggest fan of Nike's collar this year, this kind of asymmetric collar. And the cut of the shirt, when you've got this kind of trim here, I think we've seen better. But broadly speaking, I do quite like having these kind of gradients in here, the very grainy gradients. Funnily enough, I think I prefer the way they've color graded these photos here. The slightly brighter blue. I think I would like to see that a bit more, like this shade here. That to me, I think, again, loving the IKEA frames there. That's quite fun. Yeah, ultimately, I think it is actually quite a nice shirt. And this is an interesting example to kind of see, like, there's a mention here about the Lecoq Sportif era, and if you take a look, again, I think it's always interesting. We don't do this every team. No, not Ajax Cape Town. We are looking for Tottenham. You can see, okay, that's the old kit it was based on. And what I like is that Nike have taken that idea and ran with it. They've done something quite creative, and this is something which Nike are good at. They haven't just remade the old kit. They've taken the essence of their kit and done something I think quite attractive. And it's definitely, again, all on the back, which we definitely want to see. It's this kind of, I guess you could call it kind of new retro, the retro aesthetic without actually being strictly based on an old look. I want to get this colorway in here, I think, because I do like it. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And I think, I've not seen much buzz about this kit, but it's definitely one for me which resonates with what I like, and I think what Nike are quite good at. I'm very happy putting this one kind of mid flames tier. I think this one, the Spurs away, yeah, I think something like where the Porto kit is there. So as high as here, I mean, I do like it more than England's. Let's go here. Let's go here for Spurs away. Aiden says, I can't get which shade of blue the kit's in the pic. Some look bright, others look less saturated. Yeah, I think typically speaking, the retail pictures here are your best bet. These tend to be the most kind of true to real life in terms of the editing. That's not always the case, but by and large, I would trust that over something like the photo that I used, which obviously it's been color graded to match the aesthetic, the kind of retro aesthetic there. It's even brighter here. There's obviously just going to be differences across the kits, but I'm a fan. And what about the Japan Yamamoto Y3 kit? Now, Y3, the brand of Yohji Yamamoto, famous for their collaborations with Real Madrid. Great to see Japan getting in on the ads. Now, in all honesty, I'm not actually that blown away by the shirt. I think there's plenty of hype. Yeah, I agree with you about the press pics. Definitely, Adam. I do think they look better. The shade of blue, I think, is a bit stronger, even if it's not necessarily as close as to the old kits. Yeah, a lot of hype about the Y3 Japan kits. Ultimately, I think it's quite a fun design, and it definitely feels like a kind of a concept. It's funny with Japan; they are undoubtedly one of the most faked teams out there when it comes to shirts. There's so many great, ridiculous concepts which have been made into fake kits. Knowing that there was going to be a Y3 Japan kit, I was a lot bit higher on, like, going in. I was really high on it. I think the end result, it's definitely got appeal to it, and it's kind of got that slightly ironic sort of dare I say the word cheesy style when you've got the kind of flames, the blue flames. It feels, not to sound too too much like a dinosaur or an old person, but definitely one that the kids would enjoy. But I'm not the biggest fan, in all honesty. I think we've seen much better, and of course, Japan, they've had great history with flames and flames on the sleeves, of course, famously in the 90s. It's like a high counter tier. I'm not gonna like put this one too far down, but it's more like if I stick it here, I think that feels about right. Let's just get one pixel over. Yeah, I like the kit, but I do think again the idea or the hype going into it was much bigger than the result really justified. And guys, we're on to our final kit of the day. But we're ending with a banger. This is the Odense home shirt. And this is absolutely brilliant. Now, speaking of jacquards, speaking of patterns in the fabric, well, Hummel have done this on a few of their kits this year. And this is a really, really nice jacquard. The fabric here looks wonderful. Great to see the long sleeve version again, where that pattern, which you can see here, continues throughout the sleeves. And just seeing that, obviously, heavily stylized photos, so you've got to take them with a pinch of salt, but I really think this shows off what makes a good jacquard so wonderful. It gives you that real, like, nostalgic feeling, but it's very much achieved through, again, good fabric work, good interest and detailing, which, because it's part of the fabric, you get to see so much. Like looking at it there with the light again. I always talk about this with jacquards. It's just this is just a real step up, and I'm so happy. Yes, you could argue it's a bit of a kind of quick win going for the nostalgic route, but honestly, I think the results do speak for themselves. I think the results do justify this real trend we're seeing, and I'm so happy to see manufacturers going back to this kind of route. Honestly, this is an easy inclusion in the Volcano tier, and I was looking forward to reviewing this one. I wanted to end on this one because I think it is like just a great example of good fabric work, good jacquard patterning, and again in the long sleeves that just takes this one to the next level. It's the kind of kit which I would love to see in person, and I'm sort of thinking if I can try and pick up actually. It'll be good. It would be a good one to review. I like this one as much as here, guys. I'm very happy to slam it right near the top. One of my favourite kits this year, straight up. I think this is really good. Just look at it. I think it looks absolutely wonderful. And that's the Odense shirt, and that is our final one of the day. Of course, we do need to make hummel as well, actually, so we will bump them up. It's getting a bit congested at this end of the tier list, so let's just do a bit of a shifty, and there we go. It's been a very good day. Now, obviously, we've kind of cherry-picked a few teams, haven't we, as we went through from the recent releases, but we've got, again, a couple of Volcano tier entries in Sunderland and Odense, so that was really sweet. And some, like, Huddersfield are right up there, and Wimbledon, so some really close entries as well. Very few in the counter tier. There's mostly Flames and Volcano. And shout out to the Manchester United and the West Ham United home shirts. Both for me, Flames tier shirts. Both strong home shirts. But that will do it for the Hot Wall today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for spending some of your day with me today, and thank you for the comments, the questions. Always good to get your input. This show really is about just hanging out with you guys as much as anything else. So thank you. Good to see some new faces, some old faces, and yeah, once again, happy Independence Day to our American family, our American brothers and sisters watching today. And I'll say it one more time for the UK based crowd. Don't forget to vote, guys. Don't forget to vote if you can. I mean, you don't need me to remind you. I'm pretty sure you already will have, or have or will, I should say. Thanks, JPR. Yeah, man, some top kits today. I think, you know, like, what's really cool is that we're seeing real success in terms of the like up and down the pyramid. It's big teams and small teams. It's cool to see. I think, broadly speaking, a lot of big teams or big brands as well are stepping up. There are exceptions to that, but I think, you know, there's something for everyone. There really is, and I think it was today showed that. A lot of good Umbro, but so they are probably the story of the day. But again, Hummel absolutely crushing it with some of their kits. Like, that's the thing. Brands like Hummel, Araya, Macron, Umbro, they are really kind of like stepping up to the plate. And I think pound for pound, those guys produce better shirts than Nike, Adidas, and Puma. As much as the highs for those brands are very high, the lows are also pretty low, and that's just the nature of a big brand, isn't it? Thanks, Aiden. Good to see you, my friend. Guys, thanks for hanging out. It's been good. And yeah, look out for those Sunderland videos. I don't know when they're going to go live. I hope soon, but of course I'll share them on the channel when I do as well. Very excited for you to see them. Really proud to be working with the club. Hopefully more clubs produce more content about kits, so then I might get some more work. If not, it's just been fun to do that anyway. Thank you. I am going to sign off now, leave you with the outro scene, but look forward to the next one. We probably won't be streaming on Tuesday because of the football, but I think we'll be back on Thursday, all being well. So we will get the eBay streams going again, but for different reasons we've not been putting them out recently. But there'll also be a main Phil's Corner video around the corner too, so plenty more stuff to come. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. All the best.